Welcome to the Finding the Magic podcast, where books come alive. I'm Tricia Copeland, a fiction author and host of this show. If you love books, finding great reads, and hearing about the story behind the story directly from the authors, this is the place for you. Whether you like fantasy, science fiction, dystopian, or romance titles, I think you'll find something to love in my playlist. Listen in to discover something magical about a book or two today. Welcome, Ben.
Well, thank you very much, Tricia. I appreciate the opportunity to be on your show and look forward to the discussion.
Thank you for being here. Today we have Ben Leman. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. You have a new book coming out in April of 2026, Between the Times. Looks like a historical fiction. Jump in and tell us all about it.
Yeah, no, it is. You got it pretty much right there. Ben Lamont is my name, and Between the Times is the title. It takes place in Scotland in the 1640s. It is a historical fiction novel, and it's largely based on actual history. So there is a lot of research involved in it, and it's the gist of it is that you have one Scottish Highland clan that is drawn into a conflict by a neighboring clan. And in that process, as they get drawn into that conflict more and more, the main character and his clan and family members goes through a journey, and that journey through those experiences is really his evolution of thought about their way of life, about clan life, and the difficulties of it, the benefits and drawbacks of it. And that evolution of thought leads him and his family and clan to a crossroads where he has to decide, or they all have to decide, do they stay and defend their family heritage and their lands that are being threatened, or do they pursue a new route and try to start a new life in pursuit of with a better way of life in mind?
Was there a choice for them? I'm like, okay, was there a
Yeah, it's
choice?
a good question. It's a good question. The culture of the clan life, there's a very much a code that the clan members lived by historically, and that included loyalty and honor of, defending your clan. Basically, the clan was the key to survival back then. I mean, clans were vicious towards each other, and it's well documented all the attacks on each other. You don't hear much about them, really. You hear about the broader stories like Braveheart with the kings, all that kind of stuff. It's in England and the fight between the powers that be. But you don't really hear much about the clan on clan warfare that happened. And so it was a necessary structure in order to survive. And so therefore the clan members, their loyalty to the clan and defending the clan was priority number one, because it's how everybody survived.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I guess I'm thinking like getting Outlander vibes. I don't know if you paid attention to that series, and then I watched Rain. I don't know if that's also it's a YA series. I think it was on Netflix or something that was about Mary Queen of Scots. Um, so how and it's set in the 1600s, you said it follows. Do you have one main character? Is it a first person point of view, or is it how did you write it?
Yeah, so there's one main character, but there are several characters that play very significant supportive roles, a couple of which are females. I have a couple of other males. And what I tried to do is take the reader into the depths of the mind, the thoughts of the characters, to as if you're experiencing what they were thinking themselves at the time. I wanted a real visceral sort of a way for the reader to experience what life was like back then. And so there's several underlying themes going on at the same time with different characters, and the characters have very different personalities. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to the story. It's a complex story that is a fascinating historical event. To think about the attempts of genocide from one neighbor neighboring clan to another. I mean, they that was the objective, and it was you know, just very a difficult time. And so there's a lot of depth to this story, a lot of depth to it, and taking the reader deep into those thoughts and words of the characters is really what I tried to do.
And the main character, who is he, a leader or does he become a leader in his clan?
Yeah, the main character is Aaron Lamont, and he is the son of the chief of Clan Lamont, one of the sons. There are several there, and there's a daughter as well. And so he goes through, as the main character, he's the primary mechanism that goes through the evolution of thought for my story. He's the primary tool I used to demonstrate the evolution of thought from clan warfare. Clan life is great, this is wonderful, we're going to fight for our clan, we die for our clan, that's what we do, blah, etc., to slowly peeling back that onion through his experiences, which are not only just the battles that he goes through, but he falls into love with a woman that plays a big part in this story as well. Through their conversations, they learn through from each other about, what is life really about? What is this really what life's about, or is there something better we can shoot for here? And then also with other interactions he has with other members of the family, they have disagreements, and through all the hopes and hopelessness and despair and victories and challenges they overcome, that it's just a learning experience for him, and for all of them. And so they really get to evolve in their thought process there.
Is it a little bit of a coming of age for him? What age is he when the story begins?
It is. It is a very good question. That was so when he's first story begins, he's in, early 20s, and so he's very much a trained warrior that has trained his whole life and has been starting to fight, and he's ready to lead. He wants to lead on the battlefield and prove himself. But there are experiences he goes through on his initial moments on the battlefield that are, kind of a rude awakening of sorts. It's a reality check on what warfare is really about, and in that's his first learning curve. And so the book opens up with a gripping scene, and it just throughout the entire novel it really holds the interest and moves fast. It's a fast paced book, but deep at the same time. So it holds the interest of the reader. Is what the goal is there, and while I'm moving the story along pretty quickly.
Neat. Yeah, I can, I just feel cold thinking about
Scotland.
you're cold, you're wet, and you don't have like heating and air conditioning, and you have to get your own food. I mean, I think they had a hard life, and I could see how, just immersing yourself and could transport you into their world. Uh, how long did it take you to like research and write this book?
It took a long time. It started really in 2013 with a personal story. With I didn't think of writing this book until that time, and that's when I first started thinking about it. I had a personal friend that was dying of pancreatic cancer. Was a mentor of mine, and I was last visit with him on his deathbed, and after the discussion he was falling in and out of sleep, and it was obvious he was tired, and so I decided to leave, and so I said goodbye, and he went unconscious, and I started to walk out of his bedroom door, and he called my name and said, "Between the tines, Ben." Just yelled, "Between the tines." I didn't know what he said. I didn't understand it at first. I went back to his bed and said, "What did you say, John?" I didn't understand you. And he said, between the tines. And then I still didn't understand, obviously. And I said, well, I don't understand what you're talking about. What is that? And he said, that's what you're going to call it. That's what you're going to call your first novel, your first book. I'm sorry. He said first book. And, uh, and he was wide awake at that point. He'd come to, but just briefly. And then right as soon as he said that, very shortly after that, he went unconscious again. And I never got to discuss with him what he meant by that, right? And so, but I committed to myself right then. I was going to write a book, but I didn't know what it was about. Had no idea. So I started to think about it, and I thought of this some history that I had learned a little bit about with this Scotland. You know, this particular story is what it was about, but I didn't know much about it. I just always thought it was fascinating. I said, you know, I'm going to research that a little bit. So started to research it, and that led me to on a long journey of learning about Scottish history. I've traveled to Scotland 3 times. I've visited many of the sites that are in my novel that are the castles and the scenes, various scenes that take place, battle scenes. Visited a lot of those, traveled all over Cal Peninsula and Southwest Scotland, and really got a feel for what was going on in that land at the time. And then of course a lot of research. While I was there, I visited some museums about some of the incidents that I write about, and found some good resource material, good books that are really dedicated to some of this history books that nobody really knows about, right? There's only a few of them out there, and so I was able to locate some and do some more research, and lo and behold, it just kept building. The story just kept building out like a root system under the ground of a tree. It just splintered off in all these different directions, but they were all connected. And so I just little bit by little bit was piecing together the timeline, the various motivations for the events that happened, and I really just thought this was such a fascinating story, and this is what I ended up writing about.
Neat. And so he did say your first book.
Yes.
Is this the first book of a series, or do you have anything
Yeah.
else planned?
Right. No, it's a good point. This is the first book of a trilogy. This story is longer than this first novel. This first novel is 140,000 words.
Oh
So it's
wow.
a full-length novel.
That's two
Um,
novels in one
yeah,
almost.
novels, yeah, 2 novels in one. But it is the trilogy is called Forged in Blood. And this is Between the Tines is book one. And Forged in Blood is really about the broader story of all 3 books, of course. And that's a story about the question, what was going on in our ancestors' lives that was so terrible, or so much of a struggle, that they were willing to leave their entire life that they knew and travel across the ocean and try something new, that had no infrastructure, no food, nothing, in the colonies. And that's a story that touches most of us here in the United States. It's a common thread because, yeah, aside from Native Americans, we all come from ancestors from the old world, and that concept of our ancestors leaving, whether that was at the colonies or later, during the American Revolution, or later on in the U.S. history, a lot of them were fleeing something, right? Or trying to find more opportunity, or running away, whether they were in trouble, or some people were captured and forced to come over, of course. And but all of it was really centered around some sort of struggle, right? And so that's what this trilogy talk is really about. Forged in Blood is the hardships, the struggles that our ancestors went through to eventually form what we have today, right? In the United States, eventually we're are we perfect? No, no. America has its own set of problems, But the idea, the pursuit of freedom, the pursuit of opportunity, and protecting that, and just connecting this new world with the old world where we started from is really what I'm trying to do. And I look long term to do that from various countries' perspectives.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this first one is set in Scotland in the 1600s. What other two ones did you decide on?
Well, so this trilogy is all about this same story from
Oh,
Scott.
okay. Got
Okay.
it.
But once I finish this trilogy, I want to move on to another country and tell their story, right? And just
Okay.
keep moving down the line. So long term, that's kind of where I'm headed with my future as an author.
Neat. Well, yeah, obviously a history buff there.
Yeah, I like history. I enjoy that.
Fun. Well, again, tell us where we can find you and your book.
Yeah, so benlemanauthor.com, BenLeman, author.com. So on my website, from there you can pick which social media you like to follow. You can, connect with us there. And then also there's a pre-order tab. You can pre-order my book that comes out Between the Times comes out April 28th. That's when it's available to the public. And so we will have the full spectrum of means of reading the book or listening to it. We'll have audio,
Oh, good.
of course, over time, but the paperback and then also digital. Yeah.
Oh, fun. So, yeah, I love audiobooks, so I'm glad that is that gonna be out this April or is that to
I think it's
be
gonna be a little
coming
bit
soon?
after. Yeah,
Okay.
a little bit after, but we'll get there pretty soon, but it's gonna happen a little after. Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah, I did go to your website. It's a great website. So thank you so much for being here. And I definitely want to have you back when you release your second book.
All right. Well, I look forward to it. I'd be happy to come back. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Wish I
Thanks, Ben.
appreciate it.
Between the Times, Ben Lamont.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Finding the Magic podcast. I'm your host, author and podcaster Tricia Copeland, and I love getting behind the scenes. If you like the podcast, make sure to subscribe and stop in each week to discover new authors and books. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep finding the magic.